Alright, so let's talk about Hunk. Hunk is probably one of the most mysterious and probably most badass characters in the whole of the Resident Evil series. He appears in many of the bonus modes throughout the games. He's in the 4th Survivor in Resident Evil 2. He appears in most of the Mercenaries modes throughout Resident Evil 4, 5, 6. And a character in Raid mode in Revelations. Now, there's honestly not a lot of backstory with him. He's very mysterious. There's a lot of fan theories around him as well, which are very interesting, and we'll go over those later on. But we're going to go over the information we do know, our references and stuff like that, and it should be a pretty good time. I'm going to be doing this a lot over the next couple of weeks with a lot of side characters in the series. Just a few examples of who they will be. This week, more specifically, we'll have Hunk, we'll have Sheva, Piers, Simmons from RE6 as well. Very interesting villain. Not the best, but still pretty interesting. So yeah, we'll be covering a lot of different characters that aren't the mainline cast in Resident Evil. But the mainline cast videos are coming. There is a lot longer. There's a lot more depth to them. They are going to be long videos. But they probably won't be out for a while. So for now, side characters, extra characters, anyone you can think of, let me know and we'll cover them eventually. And yeah, it should be a lot of videos covering a lot of information. So without any further ado, let's get into Hunk. Okay, so Hunk is the code name of a Umbrella Secret Service operator, which is obviously the guy you're playing. He is the leader of the Alpha team in Resident Evil 2, who go and essentially find Birkin and recover the G-Virus. They all die, except Hunk. He's the sole survivor. One extra little bit of information that's interesting with him is he was actually trained in a location we've been to in a previous Resident Evil game, and that is Rockfort Island. If you don't know what Rockfort Island is essentially the island you start on in Resident Evil Code Veronica. It is basically a military island where a lot of training goes on, and he was trained there for about 2 years, I believe. He showed very capable skills for his training, and within 2 years he was sent on missions all over the world, most of which ended up with him being the only person left, hence the name he gets given, the Grim Reaper. Everyone calls him that, everyone knows him by that, people tell stories of him. He's got quite a reputation within the Umbrella Special Operatives. One extra little bit of detail is he considers Sergeant Nikolai, and you'll know Nikolai from Resident Evil 3, as basically his rival. Like, they're always kind of competing with each other in a sense. It explains it in a lot more of the backstory throughout the games, but they are pretty much almost on the same level as each other. Obviously Nikolai does meet his demise, but they're very on par with each other in their skill type standpoint. So yeah, like I said, in mid-September in '98, Hunk was the leader of the Alpha team who was sent in to basically steal the G-Virus from Birkin in the Nest laboratory under the Operation Nest Wrecker. And when he arrived there, his team surrounded Birkin and almost had him, but in a last-ditch attempt to keep the virus for himself, Birkin tried to fight back and was taken out, but had already injected himself with the virus, and he eventually did turn into what we see him in Resident Evil 2, you know, this deformed monster. After Birkin did first initially turn, he hunted down the Alpha team, who had actually recovered the sample, but he didn't want them getting away with it. Took them all out, bar Hunk, who survived. And the 4th Survivor mode is obviously showing Hunk escaping the nest through the sewers and trying to get out of the city before the government blows the city to hell, which is obviously what happens at the end of Resident Evil 3. His next mission that was mainly quite significant was to do with the Rockfort Island, and basically he had been asked to transport a certain thing in a container, he was unaware of what it was, from the Antarctic base to Rockfort Island under the orders of Alfred Ashford. Hunk didn't really agree with this as he had no idea what was inside. Ashford refused to tell him, and it deemed as a threat to him and his team, obviously because, you know, if it was to get out, he wouldn't have any idea what he was dealing with, and was kind of not okay with that. And then in 2003, after the fall of Umbrella, he became a mercenary and devised basically his own kind of unit called the CQBZ, which is a lot of what the Umbrella Corps game is about. And he developed his own gear there. Most of it is what you use in the Umbrella Corps game if you've ever played it. Basically, it's zombie jammers, which makes you invisible to them, they can't sense you, and stuff like that. It's a lot of tactical gear that kind of makes you more covert, and you can get through the infected territories without really being noticed by any infected people. Now, there is a video game that is loosely about him and like a special team he commands called Operation Raccoon City. It came out on PS3 and 360, I believe. Now, when this was first revealed, it had a lot of hype around it. There was a certain CG trailer called Third Contact, I believe, where it showed a bunch of stars, a bunch of Umbrella forces fighting each other in between like a bunch of zombies, and it looked really cool. But the game just didn't really deliver on release. It's not even canon either, like it's completely standalone. due to decisions you can make throughout the game that would completely change the timeline. So it's not canon at all. It's more of a spin-off. Don't get me wrong, there's a few people out there that do genuinely like it, and if you do enjoy it, then that's fair enough. But for me, and for a lot of people I talked to, it wasn't really what we'd hoped it would have been. I would like to see them have another crack at making a game about Hunk himself. They could literally pull it from any point in the timeline. It could be pretty cool to see that. But Operation Raccoon City wasn't really what I wanted to play at the time. But that is essentially it for the actual story of him. There is a lot of fan theories around him, which we'll get to in a moment, which are pretty interesting. One specifically that I'm going to mention that really does kind of make you think. Now, this theory is essentially that Hunk is a bioweapon of some degree. Basically a super soldier that explains, why he is always a sole survivor after every mission. Like, he has some enhanced abilities that keep him alive, or, some enhanced senses that keep him a bit more aware of things. It's a theory, it's not ever actually kind of mentioned at any point, but some people do think that maybe he's some kind of, like, super soldier. It does make sense, it's not like an unbelievable theory, but again, it's nothing solid. But that is essentially it. There's not a lot really to go over about him. It's very mysterious, very badass, people love him. I think he's great as well. Do I want to see him return? Yes. Is he probably a bit older now? Most likely. But there's always an option to bring him back, whether they do kind of go into that he's kind of a super soldier theory and he basically doesn't age as fast as everyone else. That could be a solution to that. But do let me know what you think of Hunk. Have you played a game with him in it before? Have you ever beat the 4th Survivor mode? Very fun mode. Just let me know your general thoughts on him. But yeah, thank you for watching. Again, thank you for putting up my voice. I'm feeling a lot better today, honestly. But my voice is just kind of bongy and horrible. So I apologise for that. But it should be back to normal in a couple of days. But yeah, thank you for watching. I'll probably do the Peers video tomorrow, so look out for that. And I'll see you all then. I'll leave you with the final stretch of the 4th Survivor mode to enjoy.
God damn it. Why'd you come back?
I wanted to meet the Grim Reaper.